One of my favorite memories of driving a car is that of driving between Mumbai and Pune in a BMW X3. Well, the cars used to be different at that point in time, and the car that I drove was powered by a 3-liter diesel. Those diesels are not there anymore. I loved those diesels. They were brisk, they were fast, and I think they were the best suited in India for premium cars like these. But in its fourth generation, I really think that the X3 has improved on a lot of counts. And in this video, I'll let you know everything that is there to be known about the fourth generation X3. Let's get going with this. Now, while the new generation X3 may have received a lot of flack for the way it looks, to me personally, it does look better than what it used to. It now has more character, it looks sportier, and in the flesh, trust me it does look nice. It does turn heads, and you really need to have a look at this car in the flesh to see what BMW have tried to do here. Well, looks are subjective, and to each his own. To me, this car does look nice. A few interesting aspects about this car is that it has grown in every dimension. It's now longer, it's wider, its track is wider. However, its height has reduced because BMW wanted it to look sportier in profile. Also, the wheelbase has not changed. But the one thing that you need to know here is that the Mercedes-Benz GLC has a slightly longer wheelbase than this car, although overall in length this car is longer. In fact, it's the longest car in its segment now, and I really like the way it has been designed. BMW is calling it a monolithic design, like it's carved out of a slab of stone or metal, and it does have a character to it. You may or may not like it, but it does have character and it does stand out. A few interesting things to note are this bonnet, where you have the BMW logo sitting on top on this split kidney grille, which by the way is illuminated. And a very interesting thing to note here is that the ADAS module is very nicely hidden in the kidney grille itself. At the bottom you have these air intakes, you have the front sensors, you have this air curtain, and the headlamps are adaptive. They have cornering lights, and you really don't have to fiddle with the headlights to control the low or high beams. It is an advanced unit and it does not dazzle the oncoming traffic. Of course, the wipers and headlights are automatic units, and for India, this car is available only in the M Sport trim, which means that you get some sporty bits like this 19-inch alloy wheel with the M badging. These are light alloys and they're Y-shaped. What do you think of this design? Do let us know. I quite like them. 200 mm plus ground clearance. This is not the best in the segment. The Volvo XC60 gets more ground clearance. For most part, this is it to take care of our bad roads and some really vicious speed bumps as well. The greenhouse area is covered with this shade of black, and this car in fact can be had in 4 colors. All the 4 colors that you can have this car in can be seen on your screen right now. Of course, it gets a 360-degree camera, and the camera units for the side view sit here. It has one of the most advanced 360-degree camera units, and I'll give you a view of that. But in the meantime, what I don't quite like is the way these handles are built. Although they fit flush with the surface of the car, they are not as easy to grab onto as your traditional handles, and I would have liked them to be that way. Now, as you can see, the roof swoops down as it comes towards the rear. The spoiler is a very sporty unit, gets a high mount stop lamp, and the design of the tail lamps also enhances the visual width of the car. An interesting bit is this reversing light here and these sporty diffusers at the bottom. Overall, this car looks quite sporty to me, and I like it in this avatar as compared to the version that it replaces. It also gets this power tailgate, and the boot space now is a very generous 570 liters, which is more than enough for you to go out on a very long holiday with your family. Although the GLC has more boot space than this. To add to the boot space, you have these rear seats in a 40-20-40 split fashion, and you can actually increase the luggage area by dropping one of the parts of the rear seats down. You also have a 12-volt power socket here. Here is a retractable parcel tray, and you also get a space saver spare. You have hooks for bungee cords as well as this hook for putting a bag on. Now to get in is super easy because this car comes with comfort access key. So as you approach the car, you don't have to do anything at all. You don't have to press any buttons. Just yank the door handle and get in. Getting in is easy. Myself being 5 feet 10 inch, I ever so slightly have to raise myself, and for the back seat is even easier. So the entry into and exit from the car is super easy. One thing that I find missing is that the door sill is not illuminated. I don't even have any M Sport or M branding here, which I would have really appreciated had I paid about 90 lakh rupees on the road for this car. As you can see, this car comes with a whole bunch of controls for the seat, more on which later. Now, once you're sat inside the car, the first thing that you'll notice is that the dashboard of this car looks quite different as compared to any other premium car that you may have seen before. And this material that you see here is recycled nylon, and to the touch it feels slightly soft, and while it's not as premium as leather, it is a step in the right direction because it's made of recycled materials. Not just that, the entire upholstery here is completely leather free. And while you might think that this cream colored leather might be prone to getting dirty, you always have the option of going for a darker shade of brown. Now, since this is the M Sport version, you have this M badging on this D-cut steering wheel. You also have M branding right here. And to complement the sportiness in the visuals, BMW is also providing you seats which are properly sporty. So not just are they sporty, because you can extend the thigh support manually using this lever. You also get seat bolstering which is adjustable, so for various different frames, for thin people as well as people who are wider or broader, you have adjustability for bolstering as well. And this functionality is shared by both driver and the front passenger. You also get electric 4-way lumbar support, and of course the seats by themselves are fully electrically adjustable. So these two seats here are actually some of the most comfortable that you'll come across in this segment of cars. Now, an interesting part of this car's controls is the internal door pull, and this is where the door pull has been neatly integrated. The vent controls are also quite neatly done, and you can completely open or close them with a touch of a finger. These are the door lock and unlock buttons, and you also get a two-way memory function. Of course, you get all electric mirrors, but what I'm missing here is heated mirrors. And for days like this, when you have the rains pouring down, I really would have wanted a car which is priced so high to have heated mirrors as well. Now, while the seats are all vegan leather, this is artificial man-made leather. The leather here on the steering wheel is real leather, and these two displays are very high res. This one is 14.9 inch, it's curved, and this one here is 12.3 inch. It gets the latest BMW OS 9, and while it is the latest version, I really think that's one aspect where Mercedes has its infotainment system more sorted, and so many tiles, so many settings which are spread across various different segments. Like here you have all infotainment, vehicle, recently used. I think Mercedes has it a little bit more sorted, and it's a little bit more intuitive. Here you relatively have to fumble your way around to find all the settings. As you can see, this car gets some really nice interior, and a big part in that is played by the ambient lighting, and these chunky ambient lighting panels really lend the interior of the new BMW X3 a really clubhouse-like appeal. So while the Mercedes GLC might look a little bit more palatial, this one is a little bit more bling bling and looks a little bit more modern and funky. You also get this interior camera, and it's controlled by this button right here, but you'll have to log in with your BMW ID to activate it. Now, an interesting part of this entire central panel is this area in the middle, which BMW very interestingly calls the jewelry box, and it's primarily because of its angular design and its surrounds, which look like they're crystal cut, and it really looks very nice. Not just is it very nice to look at, it also is very practical. So you have this wireless charging pad here, two Type-C USB sockets, two adjustable, beautifully adjustable cup holders, and a lot of space to spare. So not just is it very beautiful to look at, it also is very practical. Just like we have seen with a lot of other BMW cars, the controls for the AC vents, that is the directional controls, are neatly concealed, and these vents are not very visible until you look closely. You get seat ventilation, and one thing that we just noticed about the seat vents is that they can be quite noisy. So at the third setting, if you can hear it, the sound of the ventilation. Now, one party trick that this car has, like I mentioned, is its ambient lighting, which looks absolutely fabulous. And if you are in one of the modes which are pre-designed, like the sport mode or efficiency mode, the color of the interior will be linked to those modes. But if you're in the personal mode, you can choose any of these colors. Right now I have 15 odd colors to choose from, and trust me, you once lit in the night, this car really looks very cool. And it is in fact in the night that this car looks really amazing for the occupants. Now, since the latest BMW OS is there on this car, it also gets advanced BMW maps, which I personally think are pretty good. Quite a few points of interests that I typed in were projected on the screen, and it's quite up to date. And you can also navigate to different places using BMW voice. You can also summon the BMW assistant just by saying, "Hello BMW, navigate me to Connaught Place."
Is this our new destination, or shall I add it as an intermediate
The audio system here is also a pretty neat sounding 750 watt 15 speaker Harman Kardon system, although I still think that the best sounding system in this class can be found on the Volvo XC60, which is a Bowers and Wilkins unit. You also get an HUD here, and that is a segment highlight, and I really think they have done it really nicely. It's very neat. The graphics are really good. You can control it from the infotainment screen, and it would show you the speed, navigation, and the warning signs. Now, in terms of storage spaces, the door panels are very capacious. As you can see, there is space for a big water bottle, and there is more space to spare. This cavernous jewelry box is a lot of space again, and you also have plenty of space under the armrest. You also have a 12-volt power socket here, and apart from that, if you look at this central panel, it gets a lot of controls. So you have the engine start stop button, the drive selector, electronic parking brake, auto hold, and a dial to control the infotainment screen, which again is relatively intuitive, but if you compare it with Mercedes, it does fall short. So in terms of infotainment, like I mentioned earlier, Mercedes has a slight edge as the interface is slightly more intuitive, and I really think that BMW needs to work on their interface, because at this point in time it is not at par with what the Mercedes system has to offer. In terms of safety, this car comes with as many as 8 airbags, and it also comes with a pretty generous suite of ADAS features as well. So you have lane keep assist, you have adaptive cruise control, you have collision avoidance, and all of those things are there. This car also comes with auto park, and it can also reverse after you've parked it for up to 50 meters, remembering the route that you took. Now, this car also gets a panoramic sunroof, but mind you, the glass doesn't move. It's a fixed glass panoramic sunroof, and it is indeed quite big, very wide, very long, opens up the skies to you, but it does not have ventilation. Both front occupants get a vanity mirror with illumination. You can turn both the front lights on using this button, or you can turn them on individually using these buttons. Now, a special mention must be made about the 360-degree camera on this car. Right now, it's a little smudgy because it's raining, but what you always can do is you can clean the cameras. I want to clean the front and the rear camera, and a spray would quickly clear out the things, and you'll have a much better view of the things around you. In the 3D view, as you can see, the images are pretty crisp, and not just that, when you get close to any objects, the BMW 360-degree camera has an array of sensors which lets you know exactly how far you are from any obstacle, and it really is very helpful. Now, while the rest of the storage spaces in the car are quite generous, the glove box here is not very big, and this is one area where BMW could have done a little bit better. It also does not come with a cooling function. Now, an interesting aspect of this car is that you can use this key to get in. You also get an NFC card, and you can also share a digital key with your friends and family so that they can get inside the car and lock it using their cell phones. Now, the one thing that I did not like about this infotainment system and the controls that we have. First and foremost, you don't have any hard buttons here. It's just the screen and these soft buttons for the vents. But if I really had to turn the AC on or off, as you can see, there is no direct button, so I really have to go to the climate menu first, and then I can turn the AC on or off. This car comes with a 3-zone climate control, but I think every car manufacturer moving towards cutting out the buttons which can be physically accessed is not all that great a thing, because I still think that the audio commands have not reached a level where the car is understanding whatever you're saying in a very sharp manner, and until such time comes, I think hard buttons should always be there. Now, in terms of equipment, I don't really want to complain about anything. The equipment levels here are very generous. The audio system is fantastic, the screens are very high res, but I think the quality of plastics could probably have been better slightly, because this is a very expensive car. It's about 90 lakh rupees on the road, and for this segment of cars, I think a little bit more opulence everywhere, be it on the top of the dashboard or at the bottom of it, could probably have been a little bit more appreciated. Now, the one thing that BMW have got right is the instrument console, and here you have this dedicated button, and using this you can choose the content, which basically means what you want to see on the screen, the layout, which basically means how you want to see it, the design that is, and also finally you have the screen for head-up display, where you can decide as to what you really want to see there. And all of this is really easy to set up, and that's one thing that I really like about this instrument console. Now, comparing it with its immediate competitors, the Mercedes C-Class, while the material quality there may not be very high, it does have a slightly better infotainment system because it's a little bit more intuitive. The XC60 is a little bit more minimal, a little bit more Scandinavian, but what you have here is a nod to sustainability, and it blends that with a bit of bling. I quite like how this dashboard looks, how this interior looks, and of the three, while this one may not top the charts, I really think for me personally it does work. Now, while the wheelbase has not increased on this car, they say that the knee room at the back seat has improved. Let's just get to the back seat and see how much comfort, space, and how many amenities do we have there. You can see the recycling and sustainability theme carrying over to the back seat as well on the door panels, and the door pulls are also of a similar design as the front. You also have a ton of space in the door panels for a big water bottle, and then there is some space to be spared. You also have a hint of ambient lighting in the rear door panels, and as you can see, the knee room here is sufficient. I am 5 feet 10, and there is ample room for my feet, for my knees. The thigh support is adequate, and the headroom is adequate for me. I think it should be adequate for people who are up to 6 feet. More than that, maybe they'll brush their heads. I could have done with a little bit more headroom for a car this class, but like I mentioned before, the height of this car has been slightly reduced to make it look more sporty, and that has had its consequences. You'll get your third zone of AC controls here. You can increase or decrease the airflow using this dial and control the direction using this control. You have two USB-C sockets, and you have this big transmission tunnel, which I personally think would prevent a third passenger to sit here for long journeys, although you can seat a third passenger here for short to medium distance journeys. You also have this socket to fit accessories in the form of a screen, this magazine holder, and a wide armrest with, again, beautiful adjustable cup holders which work really well. You also get these sunshades, a reading light, a coat hook, and a handle to grab onto. Needless to say, third passenger gets his own seat belt, which is a 3-point system, and a proper adjustable headrest as well. The seat by itself is 40-20-40 split, which allows you to extend the 570 liters boot space in a manner where a variety of objects of different shapes and sizes can be accommodated. Now, the one gripe about this car that I have is, if you have such a big boot, why do you not allow for the rear passengers to recline their seats? That would really add to the comfort. Not just that, it would also allow for taller passengers to recline the seat and accommodate their heads a little bit better. I really don't know why BMW have skipped on that, because cars from much lower segments are also offering that feature, and I really wish that these seats were reclining, but they're not. The good thing though is that the suspension on this car is very compliant, and in my personal opinion, if you compare it with the GLC, you would feel more comfortable while being seated here, although the seat back angle could probably have been a little bit more reclined, even if it's not adjustable. It's a little too upright for me. The fact that this car now gets tubeless tires in place of the run flats that BMW cars ran on earlier really helps the ride, and over long journeys I really think if you are two of you seated, you'd be in supreme comfort. Now, surprising as you may find it, I will start this review by driving it over bad surfaces like this one. And the reason for that is that now this car does not ride on run flat tires. It comes with tubeless tires and it has impacted the ride quality very favorably. And dare I say that this is significantly better than the Mercedes-Benz GLC. It rides plush over such bad surfaces, especially if you're driving in the efficiency mode or personalized mode. This car comes with active suspension, so you can tune the damping and you have modes to choose from. So not just the steering and the transmission, but the suspension can also be tuned. And as you can see right now, even when you're driving through such deep puddles, you don't really have to bother because the ground clearance is more than sufficient. I'm talking about all of that because premium cars in India, while most of them ride well on well-paved roads, we don't have many well-paved roads in India. And from that perspective, not just does the new BMW X3 offer fantastic ride quality, it takes in its stride bad surfaces really well. So what I'm trying to say here is that the new suspension and the fact that it rides on tubeless tires makes it very practical for our conditions. The car that I'm driving right now is the xDrive 20, not the 20D. And this car, like I mentioned, is not as powerful as the Mercedes-Benz GLC, which produces 258 HP. This one produces 188 HP and 310 Newton meters of torque. Now you also have this little button here, which is a boost button. It also has a 48 volt electric system, and what that does is that for 10 seconds it would add some additional boost of power and torque. And let's just see it in action. Now the boost mode is activated and you can actually feel that extra spunk from the engine. The engine sounds very nice, and while the power may be less, it is a brisk enough engine for our conditions. It does 0 to 100 in 7.8 seconds, which is pretty quick, although the diesel does its 0 to 100 in 7.7 seconds, which is zero point 0.1 seconds quicker. The diesel also has more power at 197 HP, and the torque there is also more at 400 Newton meters. The top speed for both the cars is 215 kilometers per hour. And what I really like about the BMW X3 is the way it feels so connected from behind the steering wheel. And an important aspect of ride quality in India is that you cannot have the suspension too firm because we just don't know how to make well-paved surfaces. Even the newly laid out Samruddhi Expressway doesn't have very good surfacing. And for conditions like these, you need the suspension to be compliant. And in that context, you can carry faster speeds without being thrown around in the cabin, with the suspension being slightly on the more compliant side. And that's where this car really shines. It is a fantastic mix of great ride quality and fantastic dynamics. It is involving, and I would not believe someone who tells me that for a big, spacious, comfortable SUV, this car is not fun enough. It's ample fun, especially when you put it in the sport mode and everything just transforms. The engine becomes so much more sonorous, and while it's not as quick as the GLC, what I can really tell you is that the xDrive all-wheel drive system lends this car with fantastic grip. The tires are amazing, and the kind of control that you have while driving this car is mind-blowingly good. This still remains the best SUV in its class for me personally to drive, and there is absolutely no question about that. It's the best mix of ride and handling. And if you talk about the fuel efficiency, the petrol here is not going to give you fantastic fuel efficiency. The ARI number is a little over 13 kilometers to the liter. The diesel gives you better, about 17.5 kilometers to the liter or thereabouts. And obviously the diesel is the pick of the two powertrains that you have. It has more power, it has more torque, its acceleration is better, its fuel efficiency is better. But if you're living in cities like Delhi, NCR, where there is a looming danger of your car being taken away, which I personally think is not right, then you might want to go with the petrol version. But for everything else, I think the diesel is the pick of the two. It's also the more expensive of the two powertrains that you have. What you would also be surprised by is the fantastic noise insulation on this car, and it simply cuts out everything that is outside of the cabin. Every noise, be it the ambient noise or the road noise, the insulation here is fantastic, and all of that really makes it the new BMW X3 a better car to drive in our conditions for me personally as compared to the GLC. Now, the real question right now is whether this or the GLC, as most of you would be wondering. The Q5 is out of the question right now because the new generation model is on its way and it should be here soon, but it's not here yet. You also have the Volvo XC60, but it's not a driver's delight. Now, the big difference between the GLC and this car is in the petrol powertrain, where the GLC has more power definitely, and if you want something with more power, definitely the GLC has an edge there, and you simply cannot discard an advantage of about 1.4 seconds to the 100. That car has more power, it's quicker to the turn. But what I can tell you is that from behind the steering wheel, the BMW X3 still has it. And where the big difference is, in my personal opinion, is that the suspension on this car is a lot more sorted. And I have said this earlier also in a lot of my reviews that if you want to be driving fast in Indian conditions where the road surface is not the best, you need to have a compliant suspension. And in that sense, to bridge the gap between a good ride and fantastic handling, very few car makers can match BMW. From behind the steering wheel, if you want to be driving the car, if you want to feel more connected to the road and you want to feel the thrill of driving, the BMW still has the edge. In terms of pricing, both the cars are between 75, 76 to 78 lakh rupees for the petrol and the diesel variant. So there's not much to differentiate, especially when you're paying so much. A lakh or two does not really make a difference. But to me personally, if you are a driver, if you are someone who wants to feel every bit, if you want to be in control, if you want to be engaged with the steering, the BMW still is the pick of the two. As an overall package, more subtle styling, a little bit more opulent interior, the GLC probably takes the cake. But for me personally, if I had to buy a car of the two, I would always go for the BMW X3. I really hope that this video answered all your questions about this fantastic new car from BMW. If you still have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I'd be very happy to answer them personally, or one of my team members will answer your question. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Motoroids, and until next time, this is your friend Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.